All right, let's dive into one of Mandarin's coolest little things, and that is measure words.
Measure words.
Yeah,
The syllabifiers.
I know you were using Pronunciator to learn Mandarin, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And that means you were already ahead of the game.
Absolutely.
But trust me, getting these measure words down is going to seriously level up your fluency.
For sure.
And make you sound way more natural.
Like a native speaker.
Yeah, it's like cracking some secret code.
Yeah, it is.
That unlocks a whole new level of understanding.
A deeper understanding, for sure. What's fascinating about these measure words is that they actually tell us a lot about how Chinese culture sees the world.
Oh, interesting.
So in English, we can just say 2 books.
Yeah.
But Mandarin needs to be more specific. It's not just about the number 2.
Right.
It's about the type of thing you're talking about.
So it's almost like saying, 2 volumes of books instead of just 2 books.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to admit, though, I've always found measure words a little bit intimidating.
I understand that. They can be a little tricky.
There are so many of them.
Yeah. But don't worry.
Okay.
Pronunciator's got you covered. Their structured approach with those drills and quizzes.
Yeah, those are great.
And even the chat bot can really help you get them down.
Right.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
Each measure word, it's adding a layer of precision and nuance to what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Each measure word is like this little puzzle piece that helps you create a clearer picture.
Precisely. And the fun part is that a lot of the measure words, they actually mimic the shape or purpose of the object that they're describing.
Really?
It's like the language itself is giving you visual clues.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Give me an example.
All right. So think about the measure word bin.
Okay.
It's used for books, magazines, anything that's kind of bound together, like a stack. The word bin itself, it kind of looks like a little stack of pages.
It does.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a visual representation.
That's so cool.
It is cool. What about zheng?
Okay.
Used for flat things.
Right.
Like paper, tables, beds. Can you see the visual connection?
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like the word itself is stretched out and flat, just like the objects it's describing.
Yeah, exactly.
This is blowing my mind.
Right.
I never realized how, visually driven Mandarin could be.
It's one of the things that makes the language so unique and engaging.
For sure.
And it's not just about the sounds and the grammar rules.
Right.
It's about these mental pictures.
Wow.
That you create with the words.
Yeah.
And Pronunciator does such a good job.
I think so, too.
Of using visual cues in their lessons to help you make those connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super helpful, especially for visual learners like me.
For sure.
So we've got bin for stacks, zong for flat things. What about long, skinny objects?
Long, skinny objects.
Yeah.
There's a word for that.
Is there?
What about tio? Think about rivers.
Right.
Roads, fish.
Yeah, okay.
Even pants.
Wait, pants.
Pants.
That's so funny.
It is funny.
So if I wanted to buy a pair of pants,
I
would actually be asking for 2 tiaos of pants.
2 tiaos.
That's hilarious.
Exactly.
It might seem strange at first, but I guess once you get the logic behind it, it makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
It's pretty funny to think about, everyday objects.
Yeah.
In terms of their measure words.
It is.
Like seeing the world through a new lens.
A whole new lens. Exactly.
So we've covered bin, zong, tao. What about things like pens and pencils?
Pens and pencils. Oh, yeah. So remember how measure words are often related to shape?
Right.
So think about holding a pen or a pencil. It's like holding a stick, right?
Right.
So the measure word is used for all sorts of stick-like objects, from pens and pencils to tree branches.
Wow. That makes so much sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the object itself. Wow. It's about how we interact with it.
Right.
And how we perceive its shape.
That's cool.
Yeah. And the more you practice with Pronunciator's tools, the flashcards and everything, the more you'll start to see these patterns. You'll even start to, anticipate which measure word to use.
Right.
Based on the object.
That's what I'm aiming for.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like becoming fluent in the visual language of Mandarin.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
And that fluency will make your spoken Mandarin so much more natural, expressive.
So what other visual connections?
Oh, there are so many.
Are hiding in these measure words? Tell me more.
Okay. So, let's see. Think about a cup of tea.
All right.
All right. The measure word for that is baya, which actually looks like a cup with a handle.
It does.
It's like the word itself is holding the liquid.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's like the language is designed to be intuitive.
It is.
And visually engaging.
Yeah.
I'm starting to understand why so many people find Mandarin fascinating.
It's a fascinating language. We've only just scratched the surface. There's a whole world of measure words out there.
I bet.
Each with its own unique story to tell.
Awesome.
But for now, maybe we can take a closer look at that table of common measure words that you sent over.
Right.
We can start to uncover some really interesting patterns and connections.
Okay, I'm ready to dive deeper. Let's see what linguistic treasures we can unearth.
Let's do it. So we've talked about Ben for books, Je as our sort of all-purpose measure word.
Right, our safety net.
Yeah, the safety net, exactly. No. And Tiao for long and narrow. But let's talk about another common one that covers a surprising range of things, and that's zhang.
Okay, so zhang, that's for flat objects, right? Like tables and paper.
Exactly, but it doesn't stop there. Zhang is also used for things like beds.
Oh, wow.
And even faces.
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 Interesting.
Yeah. So you would say zhang for one face.
Okay. So we're talking about zhang.
Zhang.
It might seem strange to think of a face as a flat object.
Yeah, it does.
But in a way, it kind of is, right?
In a way, it is, yeah. It has a surface area, just like a piece of paper or a table.
Right. Okay, what other surprises does zhang have in store for us?
Well, think about things you might find on a table, like a map,
okay,
a photo,
yeah,
a stamp. All those things are flat, and they can be described with zhang.
So it's like the measure word is grouping together.
It is grouping things together.
Objects based on shared characteristics.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm starting to see the logic here.
It's all about the logic.
Yeah, it's not just about, like, random memorization.
It's not.
It's about understanding the underlying concepts.
The underlying concepts, exactly.
That connect these measure words to the objects.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that makes learning Mandarin with pronunciators so effective.
Right.
It's not just about drills and repetition.
And it's about getting that deep understanding.
Deep understanding.
Okay. So you mentioned that zhang can also be used for faces.
For faces, yeah.
Are there other body parts that use zhang as their measure word?
Other body parts, let me think.
Okay.
Oh, mouths.
Mouths.
Mouths. So you would say yazang zung for one mouth.
Wow, that's interesting.
Isn't it?
It's like the language is drawing parallels between the flat surface of a table and the opening of a mouth.
The opening of a mouth, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, let's move away from zhang for a second, and let's think about a hand. What comes to mind when you think of a hand?
Fingers.
Fingers.
Yeah.
And each finger, it's like a small individual branch. The measure word for hands is zi.
Okay.
The same one we use for pens and pencils.
Oh, wow.
So it's like the language is seeing the hand as a collection of branches rather than a single unit.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's really cool. Okay. And this highlights another point about measure words.
Yeah.
They often reflect how Chinese culture perceives and categorizes the world.
This is so much more than just grammar.
It is.
It's like we're getting a glimpse into the cultural mindset.
The cultural mindset, yeah.
Okay. Before we go too far down that rabbit hole, let's get back to our table of measure words.
Okay, let's do it.
What other treasures are waiting to be discovered?
All kinds of treasures. What about, coal?
Gold.
Okay. This one is used for small, round objects.
Okay.
So, like seeds, pearls, even teeth. Imagine holding, like, a tiny pearl in your hand.
Right.
You know, it's perfectly round and compact, and ko captures that essence.
Yeah, I see the connection.
Yeah. So K is for those little spherical objects.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to something a bit larger. Animals.
Animals.
Do all animals use the same measure word?
Not all animals. There's a few different ones depending on their size and their type.
Right.
So zit is commonly used for smaller animals like birds, insects, and fish.
Okay.
But for larger animals, especially livestock, you'd use tu.
So, if I see a cute little bird outside my window, I can say, Yeezy Sing.
Yeezy Sing, exactly.
And if I see a cow in a field, I'd say, Yituniu.
Yituni, you get it.
You're making me feel like a measure word master.
You're getting it.
This is so much fun. It's like solving a linguistic puzzle.
It is like solving a puzzle.
Okay, what else is on our list?
Okay, how about something a bit more abstract?
Right.
Like events or matters.
Okay.
The measure word for those is jan. Sure. So, for instance, yizin shi.
Okay. Means one thing or one matter.
So jian, it's not just for clothing.
Not just for clothing.
It's for those intangible things that happen in life.
Those intangible things, exactly.
That's amazing.
It is.
So like jian's capturing the essence of an event.
It is.
Or a situation.
Giving it a form.
Wow.
It's really cool.
That's awesome. Like measure words are helping us to grasp these abstract concepts that are so hard to define.
Yeah. They're like little tools, linguistic tools, that help us categorize and understand the world around us, both tangible and intangible.
This is truly fascinating. I never realized how much depth and nuance there was to these seemingly simple words.
Yeah, and we've only just scratched the surface. There are so many more measure words to explore.
I bet.
Each with its own unique story to tell.
Awesome.
And connections to reveal.
I can't wait.
So are you ready to unearth some more linguistic gems from that table of common measure words you sent over? Absolutely.
All right.
It's like we're on an archaeological dig.
We are.
For language treasures.
That's a great way to put it.
What's next?
So we talked about din for books, ji as our trusty all-purpose measure word, and tiao for those long, narrow objects. Even those hilarious tiao of pants.
I know, those tiao of pants.
But there's another one that covers a surprising range of things, and that is zang.
Zang. Right. For flat objects like tables, paper.
Exactly. But it doesn't stop there. Zang is also used for things like beds.
Oh, wow.
And even faces.
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 That's interesting.
Yeah, so you would say yi zang lin for one face.
Okay. So we're talking about zang.
Zang.
Mm-hmm.
It might seem strange to think of a face as a flat object.
It does seem strange.
But in a way, it kind of is, right?
In a way, it is, yeah. It has a surface area just like a piece of paper or a table.
Right.
Yeah.
What other surprises does zang have in store for us? Well, think about things you might find on a table, like a map, a photo, stamp. All those things are flat, and they can be described with zhang.
I see. So it's like the measure word is grouping together.
Grouping things together.
Objects based on, like, shared characteristics.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to see the logic here.
It's all about the logic.
Yeah, it's not just about random memorization.
Not at all.
It's about understanding those underlying concepts.
Underlying concepts, exactly.
Like connect those measure words to the objects they describe.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that makes learning Mandarin with pronunciators so effective.
Right.
It's not just about drills and repetition.
It's about getting that deeper understanding.
Deep understanding.
So you mentioned that zang can also be used for faces.
Here's zang for faces. Yeah.
Are there any other body parts that use zang as their measure word?
Other body parts. Let me think. Oh, mouths. Mouths, yeah. So you would say yi sang zung for one mouth.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the language is drawing these parallels between the flat surface of a table and the opening of a mouth.
The opening of a mouth.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more.
All right, let's move away from zang for a second. And let's think about a hand. What comes to mind when you think of a hand?
Fingers.
Fingers.
Yeah.
Each finger is like a small individual branch.
Okay.
So the measure word for hands is ze.
Right.
The same one we use for pens and pencils.
Oh, wow.
So it's like the language is seeing the hand as a collection of branches rather than as a single unit.
Right. That makes sense.
It does.
That's cool.
It's really cool.
Okay.
And this highlights another important point about measure words, and that is they often reflect how Chinese culture perceives and categorizes the world.
This is so much more than just grammar.
It is.
Yeah, it's like we're getting a glimpse into the cultural mindset behind it.
Cultural mindset, yeah.
Okay. Before we go too far down that rabbit hole, let's get back to our table of measure words.
Let's get back to it.
What other treasures are waiting to be discovered?
What other treasures? All kinds of treasures. What about ko?
Cup.
Ku.
Okay.
This one is used for small, round objects.
Okay.
So like seeds, pearls, even teeth. Imagine holding like a tiny pearl in your hand. You know, it's perfectly round, compact.
Right.
And ko captures that essence.
I see. So ko is for those little spherical objects.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to something a bit larger. Animals.
Animals.
Do all animals use the same measure word?
All animals. Not all animals, no. There's a few different ones depending on their size and their type.
Okay.
So zia is commonly used for smaller animals like birds, insects, and fish.
Okay.
But for larger animals, especially livestock, you'd use it too.
Oof. So if I see like a cute little bird outside my window, I would say,
exactly. And if I see a cow in a field, I would say, You got it. Perfect. You're making me feel like a measure word master.
You're getting it. It's all about paying attention to those subtle distinctions and using the right one for the right situation.
This is so much fun. It's like solving a linguistic puzzle.
It is like solving a puzzle.
Okay. What else is on our list?
What else is on our list? Okay, how about something a bit more abstract?
Okay.
Like events or matters.
Okay.
The measure word for those is jian. So for instance, yi jian shi means one thing or one matter.
So yan, it's not just for clothing.
Not just for clothing.
It's for like those intangible things.
Those intangible things, yeah.
That happen in life.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
It is.
That's amazing.
It is. It's like jian is capturing the essence of an event or a situation.
Yeah.
And giving it a form, like a concrete form.
Giving it a form.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Like measure words are helping us to grasp these abstract concepts that are so hard to define.
Yeah. They're like little tools, like linguistic tools that help us categorize and understand the world around us, both tangible and intangible.
This is truly fascinating. I never realized how much depth and nuance there was to these seemingly simple words.
There's so much depth. And, you know, we've only just scratched the surface. There's so many more.
I know. I can't wait to learn more.
To explore.
Yeah.
Each with its own unique story to tell and connections to reveal.
I can't wait. You know, it's amazing how these little measure words, they really make you feel so much more connected to the language.
They do.
It's like they're not just grammatical rules. They're like keys to unlocking a deeper understanding of Mandarin and how native speakers think.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
They offer a window into those cultural nuances and historical perspectives that are embedded in the language.
Okay.
So, for instance, let's look at the measure word.
Okay.
Used for horses.
Okay.
But also rolls of fabric.
Horses and fabric. That seems a little strange.
It does seem strange at first.
What's the connection?
Well, if you go back in time, horses were incredibly valuable in Chinese culture.
Right.
Almost like currency.
Oh, wow.
And their worth was measured like precious cloth.
That's so interesting.
Hence, pemming for both.
Wow. I never would guess that. Is it like a history lesson woven right into the language?
It is.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. And that's one of the things I love about Pronunciator.
Yeah.
It doesn't just teach you the language.
Right.
It immerses you in the culture. So you start to understand not just what to say, but why it's said that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started learning Mandarin,
yeah,
I was so focused on the tones and the characters, I didn't even think about the cultural context.
Right.
But Pronunciator really helped me see the bigger picture.
It's those aha moments that make language learning so exciting.
Totally.
And speaking of aha moments, there's another measure word I think you'll find interesting, and that is zoo.
Oh, yeah, zoo.
Remember that one from the table?
Yeah, it's for mountains and large buildings, right?
Mountains and large buildings, you got it.
Okay.
But there's more to it than just size.
Okay.
Zuo implies something imposing,
Ooh.
Something that makes you feel small in comparison.
Interesting.
So imagine sitting at the foot of a mountain or gazing up at a skyscraper.
Right.
You'd have to sit to take it all in.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's like the measure word itself is conveying a sense of awe and grandeur.
It is.
It's so visual.
It's so visual, and that visual aspect is key to mastering measure words.
Right.
Think about how Pronunciator uses images and illustrations in its lessons. It helps you create those mental pictures, those connections between the word and its meaning.
Yeah, those visuals are so helpful.
They are.
It's like they're bridging the gap between my understanding of English and the logic of Mandarin.
The logic of Mandarin.
Okay.
And speaking of bridges, let's talk about kin.
Okay.
It's used for family members.
Okay.
Wells, even containers.
Okay.
Things that are openings, sources of life, connections to something essential.
Wow, that's beautiful. I never would have imagined such depth of meaning.
It's powerful.
Behind a single word.
Yeah.
It's like each measure word is a little poem.
It is.
Waiting to be deciphered.
It is.
Okay.
And the more you explore, the more you'll find those hidden layers of meaning. For instance, pian is used for slices or pieces. like pianmanbo, for a slice of bread.
Right. So...
Okay, now you're making me hungry.
I know, right?
But I get it. It's not just about memorizing the word.
No.
It's about understanding the concept behind it.
The concept behind it, and Pronunciator does a fantastic job of presenting these concepts in a clear and engaging way.
Right.
Whether you're using the flashcards or the chatbot or the personalized of courses, you're constantly building those connections, deepening your understanding of how Mandarin works.
So for all our listeners out there who are feeling a bit overwhelmed by measure words, what's the one piece of advice you would give them?
Don't be afraid to dive in.
Okay.
Embrace the challenge.
I like it.
Measure words might seem tricky at first, but they're actually a gateway to a richer understanding of Mandarin and Chinese culture.
Yeah.
They're not just these arbitrary rules.
All right.
They're reflections of a unique way of seeing the world. That's such a powerful way to put it. And with Pronunciator's incredible resources and supportive learning environment, there's no need to feel intimidated.
Absolutely.
You can learn at your own pace, explore at your own depth, and have fun along the way.
Exactly. Learning a language should be an adventure.
Yes.
A journey of discovery.
I agree.
And with measure words, you're uncovering not just vocabulary, but these cultural insights, historical connections, and even a bit of poetry along the way.
I love it. This deep dive has been incredible. I feel like I've leveled up my understanding of Mandarin in a way I never could have imagined.
Me too.
Yeah.
And remember, the journey doesn't end here.
It doesn't.
There's always more to explore, more connections to make, more aha moments to experience.
So to all of our fellow language enthusiasts out there, keep those brains buzzing and those tongues practicing.
Keep practicing.
And don't forget to check out Pronunciator. It's the ultimate companion for your Mandarin adventure.
Absolutely. Happy learning.